Life can turn upside down in a heartbeat. One minute you're soaking up the summer sun, the next you're living a nightmare. That's what happened on a sweltering August day in 1990. A peaceful town was rocked by a shocking murder, a brutal crime that shattered a family and left everyone scared. It all happened in a quiet house, a place that should have been a safe haven.
Murder of a woman in County Durham as she sunbathed in her garden in the height of the summer.
The murder of Heron on the hottest day of the year.
I've known Anne for 2 years now and became very good friends. She was a very loving person. You know, she would do anything for anybody. You know, she had a heart of gold. She was just a girl in a million.
The crime was committed in County Durham, though as you'll see, the killer could have come from anywhere in Britain.
Hey guys! Welcome back to your go-to place of dark and captivating true crime stories. We're here at Crimeco to unearth the mysteries that haunt us all, bringing you the stories that'll leave you intrigued. If you dig our content, hit that subscribe button and smash that like button. It helps us keep bringing the chills. Now, grab a drink, snuggle up, and get ready to crack open another crazy case with your favorite crew. Alright then, let's dive in. Darlington wasn't your typical place for a shocking crime. This quiet town in England was built on factories and families. People knew their neighbors and said hi over the fence. But in the middle of it all, there was a creepy house called Aeolian House. It stuck out like a sore thumb, right next to a busy road. Cars zoomed by all day, but no one knew the horror going down inside. Aeolian House was both charming and unsettling. It was peaceful and quiet, but also kind of isolated. The woman who lived there, our victim, even felt uneasy being alone in that big house. As we dig deeper into this case, you'll see how this quiet town and this ordinary house became forever marked by a terrible crime. One summer day, everything went from normal to a nightmare that no one ever saw coming. And Heron seemed to have it all. A loving husband, a comfy house, and a life that felt good. But beneath the surface, things weren't perfect. On that summer afternoon, Anne was in her garden, soaking up the sun in her swimsuit. No way could she have known the horror about to unfold. She was a trusting soul, someone who loved life. Now, that trusting nature was about to be twisted in the worst way possible. As the sun warmed her skin, Anne probably felt happy. Maybe she was enjoying some peace after a tough divorce. But her second chance at love was about to be shattered by a shocking crime that would leave everyone stunned. And Heron, born Mary and O'Neill, came into the world on March 24, 1946, in the bustling city of Glasgow, Scotland. Growing up, she was surrounded by family, her childhood filled with laughter and fun. Her dad, James O'Neill, worked hard on the docks to take care of his wife Margaret and their 3 kids, and learned kindness and how to appreciate simple things from her mom. When she grew up and fell head over heels for her first husband, Ralph Cockburn. But the fairy tale didn't last, and by the 1980s, their marriage was over. Anne decided to start fresh and moved south to England, where fate had something special in store. There, she met Peter Heron, a company director who already had a wife and 3 kids. They clicked instantly, even though things were complicated. By 1986, Peter left his wife, and they tied the knot. The newlyweds settled in Aeolian House, a bit outside of Darlington. Peter worked his office job, while Anne found joy in taking care of people at a local home part-time. It brought her a lot of happiness in those last years. But there were cracks beneath the surface. Anne missed her kids in Scotland terribly and never felt like Darlington was truly home. The big, isolated house made her feel uneasy, a feeling that would turn into a tragic reality. August 3rd, 1990 started like any other day for Anne Heron. She cruised into town with a friend for some shopping, back home by lunch to enjoy the summer sun. Her husband, Peter, followed his usual schedule, meeting her for lunch at Aeolian House. It was crazy hot that summer, and Anne decided to soak up some rays in her bikini out back. At 2 p.m., things took a turn. Peter headed back to work, leaving Anne to her sunbathing. Just half an hour later, a friend called and chatted with Anne. Her voice sounded normal, happy even. Then, at 3:30 p.m., someone on a bus spotted Anne catching some rays in the front yard. Seems like she moved because a tractor was bothering her peace in the back. These everyday details, the sunbathing plan, the friendly chat, the bus sighting, are all so creepy now. Because they were the last normal moments before everything went horribly wrong at Eolian House. When Peter got home around 6 p.m., the radio was still on, but the scene he found was every spouse's worst fear. Peter pulled into Eolian House at 6 p.m., and right away, he knew something was wrong. The usually quiet dog was barking outside, and the front door was wide open, something Anne never did. Dread filled him as he stepped inside. Then he saw her, and, lifeless on the living room floor, surrounded by blood. A horrible cut on her neck, her swimsuit bottoms gone. The happy afternoon Peter had imagined was shattered. His safe haven, their home, had turned into a crime scene. The police arrived quickly, swarming the house. It was strange. There were no signs of a fight, inside or outside. The dog, who always barked at strangers, hadn't made a peep. It was like whoever did this knew or snuck in when she wasn't looking. But there was one lead, a blue car. A few people saw it parked near the house that afternoon, and one even saw it speeding away right around the time and was probably killed. For the investigators, this blue car and its driver were the key to unraveling the mystery of Heron's murder. The deeper investigators dug, the creepier things got. It seemed like Anne, with her trusting nature, might have unknowingly let her killer in. Witnesses said they saw her car being driven around that afternoon, which means she might have given a ride to the very person who hurt her. Maybe the sunbathing was just a quick stop before things turned terrifying. The evidence pointed to Anne being friendly with whoever attacked her. Someone she knew, someone she trusted, or maybe a stranger who played on her kindness. Either way, that trust was shattered in the worst way possible. The attack itself seems to have been quick and brutal. No signs of a fight, just a surprise attack that ended Anne's life. Why they did it, that's the big question. One theory is just awful to think about. Was it some kind of sick game? Did someone take advantage of Anne's kindness in the worst way possible? The investigators had seen a lot of bad things in their careers, but this possibility really got to them. The cops in Durham jumped into action the second they found Anne. A whole team of detectives and forensics people swarmed Eolian House, searching for anything that could help them catch the killer. The crime scene told a story. The blue car witnesses saw parked outside. That was a big clue. They figured the murder happened between 3 and 5 p.m. because that's when someone saw the car speeding away. Even creepier, a few people remembered seeing the driver. A guy, 35 to 45, tan with short dark hair. And the scary part? That description matched some of the men Anne knew. As they dug deeper, the cops realized just how brutal the crime was. The murder weapon was probably something simple, like a knife or a razor. But the real shocker? It was missing. The killer took it with them, like some kind of sick souvenir. Things weren't looking good. The cops didn't have any fingerprints, DNA, or anything like that. It seemed like whoever did this planned it carefully and didn't leave a trace. But the detectives weren't giving up. They knew even the smartest killers mess up eventually. All they had to do was find that mistake. Weeks turned into months, and the cops were still nowhere near catching Anne's killer. They chased down all sorts of leads, some more promising than others. The first suspect? Anne's husband, Peter. He was having an affair, which looked really bad. Could he have killed Anne in a jealous rage? It happens more than you think, unfortunately. Peter claimed he was at work when it happened, but his story had some holes. The cops couldn't pin anything on him yet, though. Then there were other leads, a woman who said a man confessed the crime to her, a creepy letter signed by the killer, and even a convicted rapist who seemed somehow connected. But none of it panned out. Years went by, and the case went cold. All the interviews, tips, and tests, nothing led to a solid suspect. This unsolved murder became a heavy weight on the whole town, especially for those who loved Anne. They just wanted answers, but they weren't coming. For over 15 years, the investigation into Heron's murder went nowhere. The case files sat collecting dust, a constant reminder of a crime with no answers. But then, in 2005, things took a dramatic turn. Science had come a long way. Police re-examined all the evidence from the crime scene using fancy new technology that didn't even exist back in 1990. And guess what they found? Traces of DNA on Anne's body, a match to Peter Heron, her husband. This was a bombshell. Peter had moved on, remarried even. But now, the past was catching up to him. He was arrested, and for Anne's family, it felt like they were finally getting some answers. They thought they knew who did it. But hold on. Legal things are messy. After all the hype about Peter's arrest, the charges got dropped. Apparently, the DNA evidence wasn't strong enough. Maybe it was just leftover from, well, you know, normal couple stuff. The whole thing was confusing, and it left everyone even more frustrated. Peter said he was innocent, but the evidence was getting weird. Remember how he said he had a work meeting that afternoon? Investigators weren't buying it all. His story kept changing. He said he left the meeting around 4:30, but his daughter said it started later. Plus, a few people saw a car that looked like his speeding towards Anne's house around 3 p.m., way before his meeting was supposed to be over. Things got even more suspicious when they found out Peter was having an affair. Maybe Anne confronted him and things got out of control? It happens more than you think in these kinds of cases. But Peter stuck to his story. He admitted he wasn't a perfect husband, but he said he would never hurt Anne. Without a rock-solid alibi or more evidence, they couldn't charge him. The whole thing reminded people of the Scott Peterson case, another husband with a shady alibi and a missing wife, but not enough proof to say for sure what happened. Peter's alibis were a mess, a mix of excuses that could work in his favor or make him look even guiltier. The mystery of Heron's murder remained unsolved. Just when everyone thought the Heron case was a dead end, a surprise twist emerged in 2020. Enter Jen Jarvie, a true crime fanatic who wasn't about to let this case go cold. Ever since she saw a dramatization of the murder on a crime show, Jen couldn't shake the feeling something was wrong. Taking matters into her own hands, she started digging, convinced the police missed a suspect, Michael Benson. Benson was an escaped convict on the loose in 1990. Jen found some creepy connections. His looks matched the description of the guy seen leaving the crime scene, and someone saw a car like his speeding away from Anne's house. Plus, Benson's criminal record was nasty. Violence, disturbing stuff, the whole package. It seemed way too similar to what happened to Anne. Believing she was onto something, Jen reached out to Anne's daughter, hoping to get the police to look at Benson again. Anything to get some movement on this case, she said. But the police weren't impressed. It turned out they already looked at Benson years ago and ruled him out. He had an alibi. He wasn't even in the area when Anne was killed. Even though Jen's theory hit a dead end, it did stir things up. People started wondering if the police overlooked something. After all, 30 years had passed with no answers, and that leaves a bitter taste in everyone's mouth. Years have passed in Darlington, but the memory of Heron's death is still fresh. A sunny summer day turned into a nightmare that stole a life and left a scar on the whole town. The detectives who worked the case are haunted by it. Every lead went nowhere, every piece of evidence seemed useless, and every suspect was eventually cleared. For Anne's family, the pain is even worse. They keep asking why. Why would someone do something so awful to such a kind and happy person? All they have left are memories of Anne, her kindness, her love for life, and the simple pleasure of soaking up the sun on a nice day. Those last moments of peace were shattered by violence, and the details of her murder remain a mystery. But one thing is clear, Anne didn't deserve this. No one does. Maybe someday they'll find the evidence they need to catch the killer and bring them to justice. Maybe Anne's family will just have to find comfort in remembering the joy she brought to the world in her short time here. No matter how it ends, Heron's spirit lives on. She's a reminder to cherish every day, because darkness can always appear, even in the brightest light. Alright guys, before you dash off into the night, don't forget to hit that like button. It lets us know you're digging the content, and that keeps the creepy cases coming your way. While you're at it, smash that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. You don't want to miss our next dive into the mysterious unknown. Thanks for joining us on this journey, and we'll see you on the flip side for another mind-blowing case. Until then, stay curious,